What do you think the highest win rate obtainable over a large sample at 500 zoom? This really depends, but I would say and we are back and live. Got myself some nice, it's not hot chocolate, guys, don't get fooled by the cup, some nice matcha green tea and a nice piece of chocolate, 90%, so Adam Carmichael approved. And it's already been a while, right? It's been a month, I think. I actually had to rush in here. As you can see, we started a little bit late as I locked myself out of my apartment. So I'm actually very glad that I managed to sort of get back in time. Before we get into all the goodness of today's session, another 500 zoom session. I haven't played in a month, not a single hand, haven't prepared whatsoever as I was locked out. Which is actually brings me to a couple of points actually that I wanted to highlight on before we start. Mainly, what do you do after you've been away for quite a while from the poker tables? This is probably a little bit more of advice to the more professional poker players. You know that feeling when you go away for 3-4 months, you come back and you think kind of that you forgot how the game is played. Do you even know the rules? You sometimes might ask yourself, and I have a couple of tips for that. Tip number 1, see this as an opportunity. And what I mean with that is, if you've been away for quite a long time, like me in this session, a good chance is that your C game is going to show up, okay? You're not in the routine of playing, so you will not be in the flow, which is actually a good thing because tendencies that come up in your C game or B game are actually the things that have not yet been mastered until the point, as Jared Tendler likes to call it, unconscious competence, which basically means you can execute it without even having to think about it. So basically, the leaks that now will kind of show up while playing are the leaks that you can work on that will significantly increase your win rate. So that's tip number 1. Don't go back and prepare for like 3 days because then your C game doesn't show up and you missed a valid opportunity. Which brings me actually to tip number 2, expectations. Basically all tilt and all your frustrations in life are kind of linked to having unrealistic expectations. Sometimes people think when they're back that they're going to perform exactly the same as 1 month ago. In my case, when I left the tables, I can already tell you that that's not going to happen. So if you have the expectation that you're going to play well, and then you get struck by reality, which is you are going to not know what to do in certain spots, or you're going to make mistakes that are kind of normal as this is your C game. But if your expectations are not aligned, that will create tilt. Whereas if you basically expect to play bad, you could say, the chances of you tilting because of a bad play are less, which actually makes it way more likely for you to get into the flow later in that session. Okay, very important in general. Aligning expectations is something that I think is very important for your mental game. I have more, so expectations, because I had to rush in this, else I would have written everything down. What was the other point? Oh yeah, another point, this is actually something that you can do before you leave, is if you're in a good flow but you have to go away for a couple weeks, you cannot play for a couple weeks, before you leave, record a video to yourself and show a couple of hands and remind yourself what made you perform this well in the last couple of weeks. It's kind of like a welcome back video / presentation you do to your future self in 3 weeks. I've made various over my poker career, and then when I'm back, it's like, hey, Mr. Wacko, we had a lot of fun, we were crushing at the tables, and this is why. Okay, sometimes you can kind of forget, especially if you've been absent for around 3 weeks or longer. And I think that is probably about it. So we're gonna go in without any expectations, any preparation. So this is like C, D, E, F game showing up. So actually I'm as curious as you guys to see what is gonna show up. So without further ado, let's get into it. Maybe we should go to the PokerStars site and look up the rules. Tunas making big stacks. Tunas, what did I tell you, man? You have to play together. If you take all the money, then there's nothing anymore left for the rest. So, you know, Play a little bit social, give some money back to the rest, so they can also have some money to play with. Squeezing pocket tens here. Against Bricky and Mr. Flusu. Quit waking me. Quit whacking me. Is that a new term, Bricky? Did we just introduce a new term? Whacking? Alright, I'll make a tight fold there. Using this kind of situation, I prefer to have a little bit of a higher hand. Oh, duh. Or a lower hand. Whacking. Shall we keep that in, guys? Actually, I have a good hand now, which is the ace-king suited. We got 4-bet. Suited. I'm okay usually getting it in with. But a bit earlier, I mean, people are a little bit tighter. And no reason to raise. The turn is not really a spot that we're gonna do a lot of betting. As I think he is probably going to be doing quite a lot of checking as well. And you know, then people just bluff off stacks. That's how it goes. Trips! Oh no, you're not. I am. And chocolate. Remember last time on this board that we had trips? Close your eyes and imagine for a second that we just have trips again. Oh. Not a great turn for trips, but you know. Let's see sizing. Let's bet big, guys. Let's just go big. And he folds. This was the power of imagination. I was dealt 6-7, but we closed our eyes, imagined we had a 4, and then you just ask yourself, what would I do if I had a 4? And then you execute and forget your current hand for a little moment. So this is the tip of the day. Now everyone goes play poker with their eyes shut and think they have aces all the time. Do remember, guys, if you have to turn over your hand, that you can visualize all you want, but then it's not going to change. Let's trap. Let's trap, guys. Let's just throw out a little trap here. Let's be tricky. Let me see what he does with the pot. He checks. Well, let's throw out a little stab. Check raise. Come on, Mr. Jangoros. You can do it. And then we're gonna pretend like we have a decision. Kali with the 7-8 suited. Oh, when he does check raise. Aye. He has no clue. But I trapped him. And we're gonna trap him again. Mio actually will also flop a flush. Two good hands here. Flush. I'm gonna play it slow again. This one is actually now quite interesting. I think with this exact hand we should just focus now on betting. Should we? Yeah, I think so. This board round out really shitty for us. I think we should probably bet the river though. Off pot. Now let's hope he doesn't have queens. I have a feeling he has kings and he's gonna time call. Oh, he has 41 seconds to do that. Come on, sir, we're on stream. Don't take 42 seconds to call with kings. Come on. Okay, he is taking 42 seconds to call with kings. Oh! Jesus, I'm a fucking psychic. We're running. What do you think the highest win rate obtainable over a large sample at 500 zoom? This really depends, but I would say what is the highest win rate? Let's say this really depends on your approach, and and this goes beyond how good of a player are you, but I would say 8, 9, 10, 10 is quite. Somewhere around that region, I would say. Somewhere between 8 to 10. And then you're gonna say, well, I know no one who makes that. No, because people don't approach it in this way. Most people, I think, if you're very good, very good 500 zoom players probably get stuck at 6 from the top of my head. 5-4, 6-5-4. But that's, I think, because their approach isn't necessarily the best. He checks. Could bet this hand. I think I'm gonna bet this hand. Probably checking the river. It's a 3-bet pot. Are we gonna check the river actually? Queens I would definitely bet. Could be a bit loose, but let's try it here. He snap called me. With the king 9, I think that's like probably the only king he checks the turn with, right? Yeah, I think so. I think it's way more likely he has a hand. I think queens checks. I think at 10 or like ace queen is probably a more likely holding for him. So I think my jam is okay. Mr. Jungle Roar says nice hand. Yeah, I mean, it was quite unlucky. He raised the flop, bets the turn. Quite interesting, as doesn't have that many value combinations. Was actually considered dunking the turn. Could actually be a thing depending on his strategy. I don't think I played this hand really well, to be honest. I think I actually should have done bet the turn. Yeah, I think I played this hand quite badly. Definitely didn't play this hand that well. He now goes all in. Yeah, I think we have quite a good hand. I mean, if he has a7, then GG. a7. GG, sir, Mr. Jungle Wars. But in general, I think I misplayed that hand.